Lovely to see. There's the recording. Good news. Yeah, lovely to see you on this Monday morning. Some familiar faces. Nice to see you again, and some new faces. Nice to meet you. As Forbes says, I'm Paul Shaw. I'm a business coach and consultant. I've been doing this for around 8 years now. I'm also involved with Kingston Chamber, so Forbes and I have been working together on a few projects, and this has been one of the sort of the headline projects that we've been working on together. So, as Forbes says, I am your warm-up act essentially. This morning, I am here to get you ready for all of the good stuff that's coming your way over the next couple of weeks. And I, as a warm-up act, I am very relaxed, very informal. And if anybody has any questions, comments, anything that they want to raise, put your hand up, wave at me on screen. I may not be able to see it depending on where I am in the presentation, but you can use the chat to get my attention, or just shout. I don't mind. I'm sure the rest of you will be okay with that as well. And we will delve into anything that you particularly want to find out more about, if that works. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. We've got till about, I think, quarter to 12, so I may whistle through, but don't let that stop you asking questions. So what's it all about? Pretty much because you've signed up what Go Productive is. It's a collaboration from the Mayor's Office, Kingston Borough and Kingston Chamber to deliver business training. And what we're looking at in particular over these next four sessions is getting productive, getting efficient, maximizing our potential, getting aligned with our customers, figuring out if our pricing works, and essentially becoming more and more productive. Um, it's open to anybody that does business in Kingston. And it doesn't matter how small or how big you are, we've got content in here that will work for everyone, whether you're a sole trader, a solopreneur, a more established business, a medium-sized business. I think you will all find something that you can relate to. Um, Forbes has mentioned the schedule, just so that you know, and I'm just slightly aware that I may have got the timings wrong. I think the morning sessions are 10:30 starts. Is that right, Forbes, for all of them?
Yes, they will be.
Yeah. And the afternoon sessions, 1:30 or 2 o'clock?
No, the 1:30, and there is only one, which is tomorrow in the afternoon. That's correct for 1:30.
Okay. So we've got the overview today. We've got pricing and productivity with Sandra Murphy tomorrow. We've got sales growth and productivity with Richard Padden on the 23rd. That's a Tuesday morning. And then Celia Rizathanasi will be talking about AI utilization and productivity, and that's on the 29th. So we've got a fun-packed, action-packed program for you. So let's kick off with the core question. Really, what is it? What is productivity? What are we going to be talking about in these next four sessions? Anybody have a view on this? Anybody put your hands up, shout out. What do you think? What is your definition of productivity? Richard. Yeah, Richard Allen, you're on.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I think it's the effectiveness of putting the work into actually achieving the outcome, which I'm hopeless on.
Yeah. Yeah, we all struggle with that. Any other thoughts on productivity definition? Okay, let me give you a clue. Do more than give you a clue. I'll give you a definition. Um, Productivity is a measure of how efficiently resources are used to produce outputs. In other words, it's the ratio between what's produced, i.e., your goods, your services or whatever outcomes you deliver, and the inputs required to deliver them. Time, labor, capital, materials, resource of one kind or another. So in effect, it's an equation. And the two sides of an equation kind of balance. So what you're putting in, you're expecting to get out. So what you're putting in terms of resources, in terms of labor, in terms of time, you're looking to do that efficiently as possible. And in small business terms, at a price that will maximize the sales and most importantly, the profit that we're able to generate as a result of that effort. So your input is your time, your labor, your costs, and your output is your revenue and your profit. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's what we're looking at today. It's really how do we define that? How do we measure that? How do we ensure that we are doing what we need to do when we are putting our inputs into our business in order to get the maximum amount of output? So the next question, and again, I'll open it up to you guys. Why is productivity so essential for growth? And again, does anybody have any views? What is it? What are the main points that make productivity important when you're thinking about growing your business? Richard.
Well, you're burning the resources, the energy, the money, everything else, regardless. So you don't have the productivity, you're going backwards.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other thoughts on why it's important? Ramesh.
Hi, I think basically as businesses we have limited resources. So it's making the most of the resource that you have
Mhm.
to drive things forwards.
Yeah, yeah, making the most of your resources, not burning your resources without getting an outcome from that burn. Any other thoughts on why? And again, it's about growth. Why is it essential for growth?
Well, everybody else is going forward if they're efficient or more efficient than you are. So you are going backwards. So you'll be out of business at some point.
So if you're not moving forward, you're standing
Yeah.
still. Standing still is the same as going backwards. Ben,
Yeah.
you had a point.
If it's you want to maximize your profit margins because you need capital to invest to create growth. So if you haven't got decent profit margins and productivity creates or improves product or should improve margins.
Yeah, really, really good point. Improving margins, giving you the ability to generate capital that you can reinvest in the growth of the business. I got five, and just be interested to get your views on this. So we've sort of touched on this. You're doing more with the same resources. You're utilizing your existing resources more efficiently to give you a greater level of output. So it does effectively make you more efficient, allows your business to scale without a corresponding increase in cost. We've talked about, Ben, you just mentioned improved profit margins. So when your efficiency rises, your costs of producing whatever it is you make or sell effectively drop, and that translates directly into higher profitability. We've also mentioned capacity for growth. If you're productive and efficient, you're freeing up resources that you can use to reinvest in growth in the business, whether that's innovation, whether that's marketing, expansion, or whatever it might be. This is another one. It gives you a competitive advantage. The more productive you are, the quicker you can deliver, the more efficiently you can deliver, the more competitive you can be in your pricing, and the harder it therefore is for your competitors to to match what you're doing. And I think that's you know, in a highly competitive world, I think, you know, productivity enables that level of competitiveness, which could give you that advantage. And the final one I've got is resilience and adaptability. And interesting hearing Forbes talking about COVID and lockdown and how we all had to develop that resilience and that ability to adapt and to pivot where necessary. I think productivity and efficiency enables you to think more about future risk and what you will do in the event of something changing, some shock to the market, some shock to your business, and gives you the opportunity to develop a strategy or a plan to mitigate risk. So it's about if you like, it's about spending more time on your business, giving you the time to spend on your business, working on strategy, working on future planning, working on risk management, because your business operates efficiently. And the more efficient your business is, then the less management time you have to spend in the day-to-day, and the more you can spend on strategy and planning and giving yourself that much needed head start over your competition. Does that make sense? Anybody have any thoughts or observations on that? Does that sort of feel like a reasonable sort of selection of reasons why? Is there anything else that you're looking for over the course of the next 4 sessions that you think, you know, we should be talking about when it comes to productivity? Okay.
Big question you've thrown out there, Paul.
Well, I do like to keep them on their toes, you know, Forbes.
I may have an answer for that, actually. I'd also take into account like what is cost versus time. So what is worth your time and what is worth your value of your time? Because some things or some parts of your business won't be valuable for you to put the time in for it because it won't actually make you any money.
Yeah.
A lot of issues with that. So
It's that. Have you come across the Eisenhower matrix?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of, there's A, B, C, D, E, there's all sorts of different ways of evaluating what is important and what is urgent and whether, you know, what you should be spending your time on and what you can either delegate or jettison. And I think that, you know, that is very much a value call. But of course, the more efficient you can be at managing your own time and focusing on things that will really move the dial in the business rather than, you know, just paper shuffling, then the more productive you'll become. So productivity is not just about business productivity, it's about personal productivity as well, isn't it, I guess? And it's about us thinking about how do we've got, you know, we're not going to get any more hours in the day. We're not going to get any more days in the week. So how do we make the most personally of the time that we allocate to working? And I think that's a really important question. Ben?
I think there's another aspect to this, which is balancing personal productivity against business productivity and team productivity, because I've worked with people in the past who have really leaned into their own personal productivity. But in actual fact, what that's meant is that other people have had to work around them and have actually become less productive as a result, because it's almost a little bit of narcissism that creeps in and says, I'm hugely productive, but everyone else has to fit around me, rather than thinking about the balance between personal productivity and team productivity.
A really good point. And I've come across that with some of my own clients over the years. I think it comes back to that equation, isn't it? It's about finding that balance that makes the most sense for the business, even if that is slightly in conflict with what makes the most sense for you personally. And again, it very much depends on the kind of business that you operate. but you have to find that measure that ensures that you are able to get the best outcomes for the business. And how do you measure those outcomes? I guess, ultimately you're looking at the cost of delivery versus the revenue and profitability that is generated from that. Any other thoughts on productivity, personal versus?
A personal observation I've always had is that I think, and I've only learned this as I've got a wee bit older, is that I'm sure everybody in this room has got a good work ethic, but sometimes that work ethic, you're thinking we all work hard, we put a lot of hours in. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're all more productive. And actually, by changing our boundaries, like Ben was saying, does that mean that we are lesser successful by reducing that kind of driven work ethic notion? But if we're actually more productive, we could get more done, and we have that. Yeah, so that work ethic doesn't mean you have to do 12 hours a day. It could be 9 hours, but we are more productive. But I think we put possibly a little bit too much emphasis on working hard all the time means that we are going to be successful, or this is the right way of doing it. Yeah, it's just my observation.
Yeah, really good point. Ramesh.
Yeah, really echo that point that Forbes just made, actually. I think it should be a case of working smarter rather than just working harder. One of the terms I've heard with growing kind of SME businesses is, avoid being a busy fool. And I think it's quite a powerful it's a powerful phrase. So actually time spent just stepping back, taking the helicopter view and understanding where you are, what you're trying to achieve, what your focus is, and getting those priorities right will make a massive difference. And if you can combine that with really hard work as well and motivate your team to support you, then I think you've got a winning combination.
I agree. It's about working smarter, not necessarily harder. I spend quite a lot of time in my business life advising business owners on exit strategy. And one of the pieces of advice that I often give them is you should be working to make yourself redundant at this point. If you are looking to exit your business and find a commercial buyer, then a business that doesn't rely solely on its owner and founder for its efficiency and delivery of product and service is a far greater is of far greater value to a potential commercial buyer than one that entirely relies on its founder. And so thinking in those terms, we all have that sense of, if I'm not working really hard and working really long hours, then I'm not working. And I think that's a misnomer. And I think that is something that actually doesn't always serve the best interests of your business or indeed your life, and the lives of those around you. So I think it is really, really important to find that balance, which also is a very neat way of segueing into the next section, which is all about aspirations, values, and purpose. And the reason I want to talk about these is because they're the building blocks, they're the foundation stones of any business. Whether you're starting up, whether you've been around for a while, these elements are the things that connect your business to your life. They give your business meaning and purpose. And without them, I think it is harder to develop really meaningful objectives and to then, having developed those objectives, to ensure that you're delivering them as productively and efficiently as possible. It all relates back to, I guess, the first thing, which is your aspirations. What are you doing it for? Um, we're all in business. We work very hard in the business that we're in, delivering great outcomes for the people that we work for. But what are we doing? Why are we doing it for us? What is it that running our business, doing this instead of something else, what is it that is enabling you to do in your lives? Whether that is giving you more time to spend with family, whether that is moving towards something a bit more prosaic, like paying off the mortgage or putting the kids through university, which is one thing I'm going through at the moment. Or, maybe you want to, I don't know, buy a sports car or an island somewhere in the Caribbean. I don't know. Or maybe it's putting something back into the world that that you feel that is necessary and is good for others, but is good for yourself at the same time. We've all got that underlying reason, that underlying drive and motivation, which is not necessarily anything to do with the business in and of itself. It's about life fulfillment. And that also translates into how do we want to spend our time? When we're at work, during the days, we spend most of our waking lives working. So when we are working, how do we want to spend our time? What do we aspire towards as a perfect working state? What are the things that we enjoy and want to carry on doing? And what are the things we don't particularly enjoy and would much rather outsource or delegate? So when you're thinking about aspirations, you may or may not feel comfortable about sharing with the group. I completely understand. It isn't entirely up to you. If any of you feel that you would like to share some of your personal aspirations or your observations on the importance of aspirations in business, then let's have a discussion. At the very least, maybe start thinking about taking some notes around what is it, why am I in business? What is it that I want to get from it? And how do I want to spend my time when I'm in my business? What are the things I want to be doing? And conversely, of course, equally important, perhaps more important, what are the things I do not want to be doing? What are the things I want to be either stopping doing or outsourcing or delegating? Suzanne.
Hi, I'll start with a jokey one, which is I need to learn how to train the cats not to go completely bonkers every time I join a call. It's absolute lunacy behind the scenes here. But actually, to your point, this is more what I'm here for, rather than I'm not trying to grow my business in terms of increased profits or anything. I love what I do. I'm enjoying what I do. But I'm retraining my mind in a way. I apologize if this is too much information for some people, but I'm in the depths of perimenopause. My brain is not working the way it has done for my entire life. I have always been the person who's on top of everything. I never forget anything. And that's all completely scattered. So I'm retraining the brain. I'm relearning. Life is adjusting, and I need to learn to work with it. So to me, that's a business goal, because at the moment things are not completely, I don't feel on top of things, but it's also a personal goal.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really helpful. Yeah, and it's sort of a case of the two things aligning in a way, as business and personal goals are kind of one and the same, and maybe a business, is kind of a vehicle for helping you to achieve some of those things. And again, a good business that's well aligned should be a vehicle for helping you achieve your personal aspirations. Parveen.
Yeah, hi. So for me, one of the biggest aspirations I had was when I left my 9 to 5 job last year to go full-time self-employed. One of the biggest triggers was not having someone else be responsible for my progression, despite how much I might have earned or deserved to progress. So while it's really scary jumping into the boat where you're the only person rowing, I think it's also like I get to choose the direction and how fast or slow I go. And yeah, one of the aspirations is being in charge of my own time and also my progression.
And do you enjoy that, or is it can it be stressful sometimes being in charge of your own time? It's coming back to that, personal productivity, prioritizing things that are important, and jettisoning or delegating things that are less so. How's that? How do you feel that you cope with that?
I'm getting better at it. So I've never been fully self-employed until December last year. And I would say that it was a big learning curve, but I'm definitely towards the end of it in the sense that I feel more empowered and I can tell when I'm being like when I get overwhelmed and I know how to deal with it faster and recognize it faster. So it's not that it ever goes away. It's just that I'm better at recognizing and dealing with it
Yeah,
quicker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mentioned the Eisenhower matrix. I don't, does everybody know what the Eisenhower matrix is, or shall I briefly explain it? Okay. So, named after Ike Eisenhower, 34th, I think, president of the USA. And he had this method of ensuring that he remained personally very productive. And he simply took a sheet of paper and he divided it into four quadrants. And in the first quadrant, he itemized all of the tasks that he needed to do that were both important, i.e., strategic, had a big outcome, were necessary, would move the dial, but also urgent. They had to be done quickly, and they had to be done by him. In the second quadrant, he itemized all the things that were important, but not necessarily urgent. And for those, he allocated time in the future when he would ensure that he was going to do them. In the third quadrant, all of the things that were urgent but not important, and those were very often delegated or outsourced or passed on to somebody that could take care of those tasks on his behalf. And in the fourth quadrant, not important and not urgent. And they were filed under B, and that was the last he thought about them. It is a useful little, technique for, just looking at if you're overwhelmed by tasks, if it's all getting on top of you, if you need to add some order to your day, then just do a quick Eisenhower matrix, and that may help you with your prioritization. Okay, so that's aspirations, and that's why they're important. Then we come on to values. And I think values are massively underrated in business. They're talked about a lot. People pay them a bit of lip service, and it's something you'll find on, in the reception of a big corporate. These are our values, or you find them on the website. And people go, oh yeah, right. They're just saying that to, make us believe that they care about us. But actually, values, talked about foundation stones. For me, values are one of the most intrinsically vital elements of business, particularly small business. Whether you're a solopreneur or more of a medium-sized business, owner-operated businesses are founded on the basis of the owner's values. It's as simple as that. Because your values are you, they're a part of your personality. If you're a solopreneur, then everything you do reflects your values. The way in which you do business reflects your values. The kind of business that you do, the people that you do business with, the way you think about resourcing and pricing and markets and how you present your products and services. They're all driven by your personal values. It gets harder the moment you hire your first employee because somebody else now has to deliver according to the way you do things. The more employees you get, the more complicated it becomes. Eventually, it becomes company culture. that you're talking about. But company culture stems from the values of the people that founded the business, the people that are operating the business. So, what do I mean when I talk about values? It is really the way that you treat others and the way you expect others to treat you. The things that are important in your life, whether that is integrity, resourcefulness, dynamism, curiosity, resilience. What are the things? And again, think about this. Put your hands up. Let's have a chat about it if you feel comfortable with it. If not, start writing down some of those values that apply to you, the things that really matter to you, if you like, the code by which you live your life. Because the code by which you live your life is the code by which you will operate your business. And the more that you can define that, and the more that you can consciously relate it to the way in which you work and how that sort of manifests itself in the way that you work, the way you do business, then the easier it becomes for you to use that as a tool to help you determine who you want to work with. If you're employing somebody or bringing in a freelancer, what they need to be like, what your relationship with them is going to be like, what are the things that you're looking for in their personality? How do your values translate to your customers? Because one big element of productivity is about ensuring that your value proposition, your product or service, is fully aligned to the most valuable customers that you can find. Who are those customers? The likelihood is that many of them will share your values. They will believe in the same things that you believe in. They will care about the same things that you care about. And therefore, what you have is a connection between you and your customer before you even start selling to them. And the more that you can communicate your values in all of your marketing, in all of your comms, in all of your blog posts, content, website, whatever it might be, the way you just meet with people, the conversations that you have, then the more that telegraphs what you're about and what your business is about. And it breeds trust and it breeds understanding, and ultimately that breeds business. If you're not sure about what values really, really matter to you, flip it and think in the opposite way. What really winds you up when other people do it to you? Because that's as good a way of getting a handle on your values as anything. Whether it's being, kept waiting, people disrespecting your time, whether that's somebody that's a bit, slipshod when it comes to final delivery, whether that's delayed delivery, whether that's, lack of transparency when something goes wrong. What are the things that wind you up in business? Really get on your nerves, because the chances are that, that's a strong value of yours. The opposite of that is a strong value of yours. Anybody got any thoughts on values, things that matter to them, things that they sort of translate into their business? Do any of you work with, do any of you work really sort of knowingly transmitting your values in your business?
Michelle was clapping you, so I'll give Michelle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Michelle.
Hi there. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Thank you. Sorry I was a bit late. Values. So for me, it's about being present to my clients. But, my company is quite small, so I can probably easily manage that. And obviously I pass that on to my staff. So it's about being present for all your team and listening to them. So those are values that I consider really important. And how I can evaluate that is that a lot of my team has stayed with me, for over 10 years. So that's, for me, that's very important value. But what my business does is talk about sustainability. So when I meet with my clients, our values are about the health of humans, the health of the planet, sustainability as a whole. So those values are the basis of my company anyway. And when I share those with clients, a lot of the time they don't understand a lot of it and they're very interested about it. So when you have a company that you really truly believe in your product or what service you're giving, that's a massive value. And if you wholeheartedly own it, then pretty much you've mastered it in my belief.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree, which brings us on to purpose, which I'll come on to in a minute. But Olivia, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, for us, it's very simple. I'm a candle maker as well as a graphic designer. But in our candle business, the most important is customer experience. So everything from the product to the unboxing, sorry, I should start first, to the product and the experience of when they lit the candle is very important. So this is our main value, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So ensuring that you deliver fantastic quality because that's what you would expect in your life, I guess. You feel great when somebody that's selling you something delivers you something that's really high quality and really well thought through, and that reflects your values. Ramesh.
Yeah, I think this is really, really important, this area. For me, it's ethics, being ethical, doing things properly, and that links in with your expertise as well. So trying to do things not just properly and doing the right thing, but doing it to a really high standard. I'm a real believer in building that kind of relationship and trust with your customers, and particularly in what I do, that's really, really important. So yeah, I think it is really important to have a clear idea of what your values are and support everyone's points here.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I think, I'm preaching to the choir here by the sounds of it. I mean, I think we all believe in the importance of values. We all see how they relate to our business, and we see how they can help us with developing customer relationships and increasing our productivity as well when it comes right back down to it. So, if you haven't sort of really, really thought about your values and really, really thought about how they apply to your business, then, do spend a few minutes maybe, jotting down those things that are important to you and thinking about how they would apply to your business and what that knowledge would then prompt you to do or maybe change in, the way you operate things. Many of you, I'm sure, have already done this, but if you haven't, then it's a great opportunity. And then we come on to purpose, the third piece. And this is the classic why. Why do you do what you do? What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning? What is it that makes you, really care about the work that you do, the business that you operate? Michelle, you said, what you do is important to you, and it's about sustainability, it's about the environment, it's about ensuring that we have a world going forward, and I think that is that reflects your values, but it's also your purpose, right? It's the legacy that you want to leave. When I think of purpose, and again, this is one of those things that lots of corporates have, and they'll stick it on their website, and people will go, "Oh yeah, all right, that's fine." We have a degree of cynicism about this, but I think, again, with small businesses and solopreneurs, connecting what you do to a wider purpose is vital because again, it gives you motivation and it engages your customers. And if you have staff, it will engage your staff. It is a flag that you can gather around and it can provide you with real impetus and drive to move forwards. When I think of purpose, I think of it in sort of four ways, really. I think purpose is what we believe in. I think it relates very closely, of course, to what we actually do, what our business does and delivers day in, day out. It relates, and this goes back to values as well, it relates to how we want our customers, the people we do business with, to feel. Because it was Maya Angelou, wasn't it? She said, people don't remember what you said, people don't remember what you did, but they do remember the way you made them feel. And that, you know, there is a big sort of emotional element, even if you're making, you know, engineering parts, you know, you are still delivering a feeling to your customer. And what difference do we want to make? What is the difference that our business makes to the world, to the environment that we're in, to the thing that matters to us? And again, I don't know if you've got purpose in your business, if you've got an overt stated set of purposes that you tell to your customers, that's on your website or whatever. But if you don't, I would strongly recommend that you think about these things and think about what you believe in, what you actually do, how you want your customers to feel, and the difference that you want to make, the legacy, if you like, that you want to leave. You know, so you know, I believe that that good business, the local community is strengthened by strong businesses that play a part in that community. I work with local small businesses to help them build growth strategy so that it can play a part in that community. I want my customers to feel that they are listened to, that they are understood, and that they are able to be better than they were without my support. And I want to leave behind you know, a really strong local community that has thriving businesses that is successful that are successful throughout. So that's kind of, you know, a rambling way of sort of putting it in my terms as a business coach, business consultant. What about you? What do you think? You know, what do you believe in? What is it that you do? What is your purpose in business? Does anybody have a purpose statement out of interest? Ben, care to share it?
Oh, give me a minute. I might have to find it.
Anybody else while Ben's looking on? You see, that's you may not have developed it. You will have it in there somewhere. Again, it's like values, they're intrinsic. Your purpose is intrinsic. There is a reason, there is a why.
Paul, in the kind of oldie worldy days, that sometimes might be called a mission statement. Is that how would, is there different, Ben's shaking his head. Is there a subtle difference between a mission statement and a purpose statement in the context which we've been talking about?
I think in the context of small business, no. I think what they are interchangeable. I think when you get into to big corporate, then there are nuances about you know, practical delivery versus just the long term view. Parveen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I dug out one of a mission statement I worked on a little while ago. So I've got a clothing brand, and it's our mission is to create garments that tell a story, that honor craftsmanship, and radically appreciate the culture we borrow them from, and for fashion forward and sustainably and ethically minded individuals. A bit of a mouthful.
That's a good statement. And it's also identifying your customers, which is nice. Who's likely to be interested in what I do. Richard, did you have a?
Yeah, it's funny because as Forbes was saying it, I was writing mission statement underneath purpose statement.
Yeah.
Thinking I must look up the difference. I think to me, but it comes from obviously being a small business. Mission statement sounds a bit egotistical, and purpose statement to me sounds a bit more adding. I'm wanting to add and contribute and leave things better than I found them, not wanting to take and extract all I can. Whereas to my mind, I suppose I look at it because corporates have mission statements, and you think, well, they're all about driving on, stepping on top of whoever, in putting it in a way that the general public thinks they're lovely and fluffy, but actually that's what they're out to do. So I suppose I'm controversial in that one.
No, but as I say, I think, there is a degree of cynicism that we all probably, quite reasonably have, with what some of these large corporates say, and what they say and what they do are often seem to be at odds with each other as well. So I think there's a good reason for that. But I think you're right, with small business, purpose maybe does sound more real, and it does give a sense of that why. And once again, purpose, it will, if you say, this is what I believe in, this is what I care about, this is what my business does, and this is a difference I want to make, that will resonate with people who care about the same things and will align with the audience that you want to be talking to. Ben, did you find it?
Yeah, so I did. So I went through the whole process of a while back. This is actually part of the Help to Grow scheme that I did. This was one of the tasks we were set. So I actually defined my purpose and my business's purposes. So I looked at my purpose first, and then looked at my business purpose, then looked at my values, looked at my vision, and then had a mission statement at the end of that. And that's how I structured it. So I'll quickly say what my purpose was, and my purpose is this. I worry deeply about the world my daughter is inheriting. The challenges we face are immense and go beyond climate change or the life-threatening issue of plastic pollution. We're witnessing a growing concentration of wealth, the rise of digital serfdom, the threat to human purpose from AI and automation, and an increasingly divided society that feels under siege from all directions. All of this is happening whilst we remain fixated on economic growth on a planet with finite resources. So when we talk about the purpose of business, many prioritize financial profit. For me, financial sustainability is essential, but it shouldn't be the primary goal. Instead, the fundamental purpose of business should be to foster social cohesion, providing meaningful employment that contributes to local communities and promotes peaceful international trade. So Interactual's purpose is 4 bullet points: direct employment. So fulfillment comes from being part of a team that works towards shared goals. Nurturing talent, encouraging our team to adopt a shared purpose of making the world a better place. Helping small businesses, so innovating to solve small parts of big problems. We want businesses that improve the planet to thrive. And localizing production, encouraging clients to bring production close to home and redistribute the means of production. So that's mine and Interactual's purpose.
That's fantastic, and an excellent commentary, I think, on the world around us. It's more of a manifesto than a purpose statement, I think, but it's good for that. It's good for that. So there you go. There's a high bar.
Ben, can I quickly, Ben, when did you write that?
I wrote that immediately after Help to Grow. So I wrote that around about the end of last year.
And would you want to tweak any of that now?
Not a lot, no. I think it remains true, all of it. In fact, probably more so. I'd lean into it harder.
Interesting. So I suspect, thank you for sharing that, Ben. I suspect the thing with these, Paul, is that you can lean into them. You can change them. They're not Ed Miliband's tablets of stone.
Yeah. Purpose does evolve. Values probably don't. They're immutable. If you believe in what you believe in, you are the way you are. But I think purpose does evolve, and it's because it's a function of the environment that you're in, and the way your business is developing as well. So I think that's absolutely true. And you can go as deep into it as you like. I mean, I think Ben's example is it's really clearly well thought out. You know, statement that really defines exactly why you do what you do. And I think that not only helps externally, but it really, really helps internally as well. Anybody working with you or for you, seeing that will get a very, very close idea of what it is you do and why you do it, and therefore will, either feel that they're home and this is where they want to be, or if they're not, then they're probably not the sort of people you want to do business with anyway. The other thing about a purpose statement is it's a good way of testing, as your business grows, whether what you're intending to grow into is consistent with what you believe in and what you want to achieve. Testing it against the purpose statement is a great way to do that. If the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't do it. So that's purpose. I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts on that. Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay. So I now want to get a little bit more practical and talk about objective setting. This is all leading, what we talked about was leading into objective setting. You have your values, you have your aspirations, you have your purpose. So what does that mean in terms of your planning? Who here has a 3-year plan, a 3-year vision for their business? Could be 3 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years. Forbes, I know you do. Anybody else got a longer term plan for their business? Thinking about 3 years from now, September 2029, 8 or 9. Maths is not my strong point. Where do you want to be? What does the business look like? What is it turning over? Richard?
I want to grow the business. I almost say obviously, but I want to divest the business, which is something possibly I don't know whether I'm comfortable putting it out there, because obviously it reflects on the way the people might anticipate what's going to happen to your business and whether they want to do business with you. But I want to involve my staff more in the ownership of the business so that I can comfortably take more of a back seat, not necessarily ride on their backs. That's far from what I want to do, but I want us all to be pulling in the same direction so that no one of us is necessarily leaning on each other more than we would expect somebody to lean on us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Olivia?
Well, it's not in writing, but we do have some ideas where we want to be in a couple of years' time. But it's really hard because it's not in writing. When you ask this question to me, I understand I really need to put it in writing because it's vague. It's clear in my mind in a way.
Okay.
But yeah, it's more focusing on what I need to do for within the next year in order to achieve what I want, where I want to be in 5 years or 10 years time. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I guess you know the next step, right? Anybody else? Anybody else got a longer term vision for their business? So what we're trying to do here, I guess, is build a framework. We've got our values, we've got our purpose, but what does that translate into in terms of your thinking about where you're taking the business? And this is where productivity starts to come into play. If you know where you're going, then you've got to start to think about, well, how am I going to do it? I would suggest, recommend that off the back of these sessions, one of the things that you do is just start to map out where you're going to be in 3 years' time. Doesn't have to be hugely detailed at this point, but I'd love to get some headlines. What does it look like in terms of what revenue you're doing, how many customers you have, how many employees you have, whether you're developing new products and services, whether, as Richard has pointed out, you have a sort of you're starting to put into practice an exit plan or a divestment plan. What are the main headlines of where you're going to be 3 years from now? Because that then starts to give you something tangible that you can aim for. It's the sort of it's the lighthouse off the coast that you can start to see the light in the distance that you're moving slowly towards, and it gives you and we've talked about purpose, it gives you a purpose, it gives you something to aim for, and it gives you a context for operating your business. So if you have an aspiration for 3 years from now, if you have a vision, then it will subtly start to influence your thinking, and your actions and your behaviors and your conversations, because you will start to think, what is what I'm doing today doing to move me towards that 3-year vision? What is it I'm doing this month, this year, that will move me towards that 3-year vision? Does that make sense? So the next step on that process, if you've got a 3-year vision, then ask yourself, all right, so to stay on track for that 3-year vision, where do I need to be in a year from now? What is it that I need to have achieved to be sure that I have the launch pad in year 2 to really accelerate towards that 3-year plan? So where do I need to be in 1 year's time? And what that's doing then is it's making the things that you have to do a little bit more urgent, a little bit more practical. And that means that you have to start thinking about, well, what have I got to do now? What are my actions that I need to undertake this month, this quarter, to get me on the road to my 1-year vision, my 1-year plan? So it might be that, I don't know, I'm a restaurant owner and my 3-year vision is to own 5 restaurants. I've got 1 at the moment. In order to be on track to open 5 within 3 years, I need to have opened a second restaurant in a year from now. So I'm effectively changing my business model. And productivity is a big part of it. I'm looking at how I can run 2 restaurants without doubling my costs of doing it, maximize my profitability. What am I going to do with my resources? What am I going to do with my stock ordering? How do I make sure that I can divide my time equally between 2 restaurants? All of these things are necessary for me to be able to get to a point where I can realistically see how I can get to 5 restaurants. I'm not worried about 5 at the moment. What I'm worried about is 2. So what do I need to do this month to start thinking about my second? So do I start looking at areas where my second restaurant might be viable? Do I start viewing properties? Do I start thinking about staffing? What are the actions that I need to take this month so I am confident that I'm moving towards that 1-year objective? Does that make sense? So it's breaking it down progressively. You've got your 3-year vision. You know where you need to be in a year's time to be on track for that 3-year vision. What do you need to do now to get you to where you need to be in a year? You can break it down quarterly if you want, whatever works best for your business. But it's giving you a direction, it's giving you a sense of purpose, and it's giving you somewhere to head. So Richard, I mean, one thing for you, I mean, you've got all sorts of things. You could be looking at, employee ownership trusts. You could be looking at management buyout options. You're probably looking at productivity and efficiency so that when you come to exit the business, then the business will operate as efficiently and as effectively and as profitably without you in it as it would have done with you in it. And so what do you need to do this month to start putting that plan into action? Olivia, the first thing to do is write down that 3-year vision and then start working it backwards. Where do I need to be in a year if I'm going to get there? What do I need to start doing this month? Does that make sense? Anyone got any thoughts on that? Anyone been through a process like this before? Okay. All right. So that's that. Just to wrap up then, I just want to quickly run through what to expect over the course of the next few weeks. So next up, tomorrow afternoon, you've got pricing productivity. That's with Sandra Murphy. Actually, Sandra and I used to work together. She was a business doctor at the same time as me. Business Doctors is a business coaching franchise. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she's worked with a lot of small businesses over the years, and she knows her stuff. So you're in very good hands with her, and she'll be talking about pricing strategy and how to build really strong client relationships. So exploring your methods for delivering pricing, getting pricing right. What are the foundations for pricing? Aligning the customer's perceived value, flexibility around pricing, relating pricing to customer behaviors. What's the role of discounting and promotional offers, pricing tactics, and so on. Communication of pricing. What is the most effective way of doing it? Don't be ashamed of pricing. Be proud of your pricing, and don't back away from it. And what are the key takeaways? So that's on Tuesday with Sandra. Then on the 23rd, you've got Richard to talk about sales growth productivity. Richard comes from a technology sales background. He's been doing that for 20 odd years. So he's developed a lot of really best-in-class sales processes for different organizations. And what he focuses on is building structured methodologies that ensure that your sales activities are aligned with customer behavior and attuned to the market. He's also pretty experienced with sales automation. So again, you're in very good hands there. You'll be looking at new methods of sales delivery, improving your conversion rate. How do you get those people that are looking at what you do and turn them into people that are buying what you do? Segmenting, tailoring your content to suit your audience and communicating effectively. Getting inside the head of buyers, understanding their behavior, what drives them, what motivates them, what puts them off as well, which I think is really important. And focusing on the resources that you need to bring to bear to make sure that you're really effective at growing sales. And then finally, Celia. Celia is the queen bee of marketing AI. Many of you will know her, I'm sure. She's a popular figure in the local business community. And she's recently moved into focusing on AI, but she's a very strong marketer, so she can really help you sort of, demystify some of the AI tools that are out there and learn and understand how they contribute to productivity, and also will save you time and make you more efficient, and help you to implement good process. Okay, so that's on the 29th of September. So that gets you up to the end of the month, and she'll wrap the whole thing up. So I think just for us to sort of wrap up, and then I'll sort of take any closing questions. So we understand that productivity is essential. We know what it is. We know why it's important. We understand, hopefully now, the importance of aligning your aspirations and your values and your purpose in business to help you deliver and understand the need for what you do and deliver greater productivity. We've talked about having a long-term vision and how you then bring that into an immediate set of actions that you can deliver in the weeks and months ahead to move you towards your end state objective. And we talked a little bit about the remaining modules on the course that will help you on your journey to achieving greater productivity. And remember, that's both in terms of input and output. Productivity is about all the resources and the time and the effort that you're putting in to delivering the outcomes that will be properly priced, that will generate revenue and fundamentally will generate increased profit for you. So that concludes the session this morning. I hope you found it useful. It's been fun. It's my first one of these, so hopefully you liked it. But if there is any feedback, positive or negative, then please do pass it back to Forbes, and we will tweak as we go along. But on that note, if any of you have any questions, I will happily answer them. Otherwise, I'll hand back to Forbes.
Just looking at the screens, it seems quiet on that. Paul, that was brilliant. That was really, really constructive. So thank you very, very much. As I said to everybody at the very beginning, this is very much kind of a lot of the ingredients which will be needed for the rest of the program. And I think there's no point in going into the costings, into the marketing, into the AI utilization without really taking time to reflect on a lot of the things which Paul has run through. Certainly, Paul has been helping the Chamber with our objectives, hence why I can put my hand up quite quickly. And it seems such an obvious thing to do, but actually when you do it, honestly, my team were literally lifted up thinking, this is fantastic. We've got a much clearer sense of the journey, what we're going to do. It's certainly helped me, but it's quite a revelation, even in it's just looking at these objectives and simplifying things down. So I think, I'm sure, Paul, we can share these slides. There will be a recording of this, which we can circulate when it's available to you all. But that's why I think it's so important we just kind of go through to these ABCs, because we take it for granted. We assume we're all these good things, but actually if we're kind of quite self-critical, there's always going to be gaps which we can learn and improve upon. So as we go into tomorrow and the rest of the program, really think hard about a lot of the things Paul said, because they will ripple through each of these other segments as we go along. So no, fantastic, Paul. I really appreciate that. That's been really good.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Forbes.
Thank you all. So I will send you all a link to for the meeting for tomorrow, as I say, with Sandra. And you will hear certainly echoes of what Paul has said today. But thank you so much for your morning. And we will see you again tomorrow. Mind yourselves. Have a good Monday. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.